I'm going to call the meeting to order. We will start, as usual, with invocation. This would be led by Reverend Price, followed by Pledge of Allegiance by Dr. Grossnickel. If I can have everyone please stand.
Heavenly and gracious Father, we come to you today just asking blessings on this city, on this town, this county, on these leaders, on our nation, and on our country. Father, we ask now that as you step into this room, that you will come and be here for wise decisions. The decisions we made will be made by you. We all have one accord, one mind, and one thought. Father, we ask that leadership be blessed and lifted up to you in all things. In the name of your Holy Son, Jesus, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 4 is the Citizens Forum. Persons desiring to address the Council must limit their presentation to no more than 2 minutes. The Texas Open Meetings Act prohibits the Council from responding to any comments other than to refer the matter to a future agenda, to an existing policy, or to a staff person with specific factual information. Claims against the City Council members or employees, as well as individual personnel appeals, are not appropriate for the Citizens Forum. The Citizens Forum is now open. If you want to address, please come forward. Write your name and address for the record. If there is nobody wanting to address the Citizens Forum is now closed. Item number 4B on the agenda is proclamation recognizing September 11 as the Patriots' Day. Whereas on September 11, 2001, 4 American passenger planes were hijacked and deliberately flown into the Pentagon in Washington, D.C., and into the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center in New York. And the 4th crashed into a field near Shanksville, Pennsylvania. And whereas the loss of life and damage that these hijackings caused were the largest single act of terrorism ever on the United States soil, claiming the lives of 2,977 innocent victims and injuring another 6,000. The U.S. House of Representatives Joint Resolution 71 was approved by a vote of 407 to 0 on October 25, 2001, requesting that the President of the United States designate September 11 of each year as the Patriots' Day. And President George W. Bush subsequently signed the resolution into law on December 18, 2001, and on September 4, 2002, used his authority to proclaim September 11, 2002 as the first Patriots' Day. And whereas the National Veterans of Foreign Wars was founded on September 29, 1989, and has now served veterans for almost 114 years, and the Lamar County Post of the VFW was chartered on December 13, 1944. Whereas Lamar County VFW's Post 3990 encourages all citizens of the county to remember Patriots' Day this September 11, 2013. Whereas Post 3990 will sponsor a parade on North Main Street on the morning of September 11 to remind local citizens of the importance of remembering Patriots' Day and honoring all fire, police, EMS, and civil casualties of the awful day of September 11, 2001. Now, therefore, I, Mayor A.J. Hashmi, do hereby proclaim Wednesday, September 11, 2013 as Patriots' Day in Paris, Texas, and call on Paris residents to use this date to reaffirm the spirit of patriotism, service, and community that we felt in the days and months that followed the attack. I'd request Mr. Mackey to please come and receive the proclamation. The next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Do any of the council members wish to have any discussion on the consent agenda? Ms. Drake?
No, sir.
Mr. Frierson?
Sir.
Dr. Grossnickel?
No, sir.
Ms. Lancaster?
No, sir.
Mr. Jenkins?
No questions.
Mr. Wright?
No.
I have no questions on this. I'll take a motion on this item.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No. We move on to the regular agenda. Item number 9 is presentation by PEDC Board Chair Rebecca Clifford on request for Attorney General's opinion, PEDC's expenditures and oversight for PEDC. Ms. Clifford.
Good evening. My name is Rebecca Clifford, and I am the chairman of the Paris Economic Development Corporation. I was born and raised in Paris. I'm a graduate of Paris High School, and I attended Paris Junior College. I graduated from Texas Christian University with a degree in accounting. I am a CPA with 35 years' experience in public accounting. The first 7.5 of those years were with Price Waterhouse. I have been in public accounting in Paris since 1985, and I'm currently working at the office of Paul T. Wells, CPA. I am married to a well-respected Paris physician. I am a mother of 4 highly successful children that I hope someday will return to Paris. I am committed to do a good job. I firmly believe that anything worth doing is worth doing well. But I am not a bully. To question my ability, my integrity, and my motives is highly offensive to me. Lately, there has been much discussion about the Paris Economic Development Corporation's board, staff, and expenditures. Although the statements read in Thursday's meeting sounded good and may have been what a certain faction wanted to hear, I feel that serious issues must be addressed. In Mayor Hashmi's statement, he said, "This is not a fight between the mayor and the council and the PEDC. This is not about who won and who lost. This is about improvement of our city and providing health, safety, and quality of life to our residents." I agree. Members of the council were very vocal that the director be allowed to respond to criticism. In fact, he did take the opportunity to respond. I thank you for giving me the same consideration by allowing me to respond to the negative comments made about me. I would also like to inform you of additional issues that must be addressed and what the board is doing about those issues. Let me first start by stating that the other members of the board and myself take our appointments to this board very seriously. We realize that we have been entrusted to wisely spend taxpayers' money. We all want Paris to grow and prosper and for its citizens to benefit from the well-paying jobs that arise from true economic development. I approach my job as a PEDC board member not unlike I approach my job as a CPA. I gather facts and I do research. In order to participate in meaningful discussions and to help make informed decisions, I spent many hours researching the law governing economic development corporations, reviewing current and past financial data, and reading corporate bylaws and minutes of past meetings. What I discovered was shocking. I found that for years there has been a complete lack of fiscal oversight in the PEDC. I also discovered that the PEDC is no longer focusing on its stated goals of economic development through the encouragement and promotion of primary jobs. Many of the expenditures at PEDC appear to have nothing to do with industrial economic development as required by law. Clearly, this was not because any board members intended to do anything wrong. It simply seems that as the focus of PEDC went off course, no one wanted to rock the boat. I promised the council that I would take my board position seriously, so when I found things that seemed to be out of line, I started asking questions. My initial questions regarding incubator funding, benefits and expenses paid to members of Team Paris, and the direct and indirect benefits paid to several consultants hired by PEDC. I question whether these expenditures were consistent with the law and consistent with the stated goals of the PEDC. More recently, I have questioned the overall magnitude of expenditures, including promotion and advertising. Additionally, I ask questions about website maintenance and current policies and procedures. Questions are questions. People should never feel threatened by questions. That is, unless they are not comfortable with the answers. As a result of simply asking questions, I have been unjustly criticized and frequently misquoted. False motives have been attributed to me, and it would have been much easier for me to have taken the easy road, as had been done so many times in the past. It would have been easier to assume that everything must be okay because things have been done that way for so long. Ignoring all of this would have allowed me to avoid the criticism and attacks that I've endured. Instead, I chose the more difficult path. I decided to do the right thing. Even before last week's presentation, I had already decided to make major changes in the PEDC and to institute proper business and accounting practices. The presentation confirmed to me that this was indeed the right thing to do. I'm not doing this alone. I have already appointed committees to address these issues. These committees each consist of 2 board members who are working with PED staff to revamp the way PEDC conducts its business. The recommendations of these committees will be discussed during our next meeting. Next, I wish to address the concerns that members of the council raised regarding the request for the Attorney General's opinion on the legality of PEDC funding the business incubator. Some expressed disappointment in the PEDC board for its decision to not seek the opinion. The opinion is clearly no longer needed due to the dissolution of the incubator, but because of the vocal criticism that we received, I feel compelled to explain our decision. The reason that the board voted not to request an Attorney General's opinion was because the opinion had become a moot point. Funding for the incubator was no longer in our budget. If we were no longer funding the incubator, there was no need for an opinion. I had a second reason for not seeking the opinion that was far more important and compelling to me. As all good parents, we have preached to our children to think before posting anything online because it will never go away and your remarks are public for the world to see. I followed my own advice in voting to not request an opinion. I was concerned as to how a published opinion would make our organization and the city look to the rest of the state and indeed the rest of the nation. I was not concerned that the opinion would be contrary to my position. Indeed, I was absolutely certain that the Attorney General would confirm my position. After working with the city attorney on drafting the request, it became apparent to me that we should table the request and instead work on a different legal structure to help fund small businesses. I am pleased that the funding of the incubator has been resolved and that it will be a viable resource for our local small businesses. Any incubator clients that are primary employers may well qualify for assistance from the PEDC. The funding structure for R3BI was not in compliance with the governing law for several obvious reasons. First, the law requires that Type A projects create or retain primary jobs. Furthermore, an economic development corporation cannot simply provide gifts of tax sales proceeds. The law requires executed contracts that are sufficient to ensure that the sales tax proceeds are used for the intended and authorized purpose. The law further requires written performance agreements for funding any project. The required performance agreement, at a minimum, must contain provisions for recouping the money if jobs creation and capital investment requirements are not met. Neither the incubator nor the vast majority of its clients were primary job employers. There was no executed contract between PEDC, Parish Junior College, or R3BI. It is obvious that the funding arrangement met none of the law's requirements. So to summarize, why we did not get the Attorney General's opinion, the law says for us to fund the incubator, it must create primary jobs. We would be asking, is it okay to fund something that does not create primary jobs? The law says we must have a contract, and the contract must include 3 specific requirements. We would be asking, is it okay to fund this without any contract whatsoever? I do not want to ask a question of the Attorney General that could be answered by simply reading the law. I did not want to advertise our poor business practices across the state and across the nation through a permanent published online opinion. Deciding not to seek an Attorney General's opinion was never intended to, as a, quote, slap in the face, unquote, to the council. It was an attempt to avoid a permanent scar on the face of Paris. What I find most disturbing about the incubator situation is the manner in which I discovered that there was not an executed agreement. I requested a copy of the contract to review the funding arrangement between PEDC and R3BI. I was provided a copy of a memorandum of understanding between PEDC, Paris Junior College, and R3BI, and was led to believe that this was the agreement under which the parties were operating. The memorandum of understanding did not even include the necessary requirements for a performance agreement. By chance, I learned that the agreement had never been signed. In a meeting with the representatives of PJC and R3BI to discuss a revised small business funding arrangement, I was told that there was no signed agreement between any of the parties. I was shocked to discover that PEDC has been simply gifting taxpayer money to another organization. The law specifically prohibits any gifting of taxpayer money without a contract. I was even more appalled that I had been led to believe that I had been given an executed contract. In a little over 2 years, PEDC has gifted money and paid for services for R3BI in excess of $365,000. For the same period, the amount approved by the board was only $234,450. PEDC spent over $130,000 more than what was approved in the budget. Since the City Council has approved expenditures, it is fair to say that $130,000 was spent without any proper authorization. The board, as well as the council, must take responsibility for lack of oversight. I have previously stated that the funding arrangement was inappropriate. Upon further consideration, I now believe that it was clearly illegal. The deception involved in the attempt to cover up this activity was incomprehensible and will not be tolerated. According to Mr. Gilbert, Team Paris is a novel marketing tactic recommended by Mr. Richard Seeline, one of our highly paid consultants, to engage the volunteer community and civic leaders in our economic development. Common sense would suggest that the best people to sell Paris to visitors interested in doing business in Paris are those who work, live, and do business in Paris themselves. I agree that we need a Team Paris. It is a win-win situation. Paris receives valuable promotion and the volunteers receive valuable introduction to business contacts. We need to be sure that all people who are interested and qualified for a role in Team Paris are given a fair chance to be selected. It is appropriate for PEDC to offer to pay the reasonable expenses of the volunteers. The board will address policies that define reasonable expenses and initiate policies for the recruitment of volunteers for Team Paris. We need to fully utilize all of our resources. The next area I would like to address is PEDC expenditures. I believe that PEDC needs to spend its money wisely to promote economic development. In the April 13th, 2010
Ms.
meeting,
Clifford, I'm sorry to interrupt. Do we have this in somewhere on these papers?
it's just on should have on the screen,
Okay,
there.
all right.
In the April 13, 2010 meeting of the PEDC, the director identified 7 Type A economic development corporations that he considered to be our peers. These cities were Brownwood, Denison, Greenville, Marshall, Mount Pleasant, Sherman, Sulphur Springs. I wanted to see how our expenditures compared to other cities, so I used the cities identified by Mr. Gilbert. I gathered data from the State Controller's Office for my comparison. The chart shows income and expenditures for each city for the year 2012. Revenues range from around $500,000 to a little over $3 million. Excluding Paris, operating expenses are as low as $100,000 and to a high of $600,000. Due to the wide range in incomes, I also compared total operating expenses as a percent of revenue. In fiscal year 2012, PEDC spent more than any of these peers for personnel, administration, and marketing in both absolute dollars and as well as a percentage of income. PEDC spent approximately $900,000 or 74% of our current year's income in these categories. No other city in our peer group spent more than 27%. Again, we spent 74% of our money on overhead, including personnel, administration, and marketing. 74%, $900,000. Think about it for a while. It is in my opinion that these expenditures are excessive. Expenditures should be made based on sound business principles and what is best for the citizens of Paris. I have begun a review of our financial data to see how in the world we could have spent that much money. The travel and entertainment expenses pointed out by Dr. Hashmi are clearly a significant portion of our expenditures. In addition, I found many inappropriate payments. PEDC has paying numerous expenses that should clearly have been paid by other entities. PEDC has been paying thousands of dollars per year for outside legal fees. These fees have been paid for services provided to the City of Paris, Lamar County, and the incubator, and others. We have even paid for some of the legal fees of one of the incubator clients. The Lamar County Chamber of Commerce is having its annual banquet soon. The keynote speaker for the banquet has been paid $5,750. PEDC paid for this bill as well. The expenditures were never discussed with the PEDC board because board approval is not currently required for expenditures below $7,500 per occurrence. Because we have done it that way in the past, or more importantly, we have to fund it because no one else has the money, should never be the primary justification for the expenditures for taxpayer money. The voters have told us how this money must be spent, and we should and must honor their wishes. By law, the PEDC may spend no more than 10% of its income on promotion. In fact, PEDC has been spending much more than the 10% limit on promotion. By my calculations, PEDC has already spent almost 15% of its anticipated current year revenue on promotion during the first 10 months of the year. Still, we have contractual obligations that we must fulfill. This percentage will actually be much higher for the year. How do we fix this? We cannot. The money has already been spent or obligated. We should at least make an attempt to limit the magnitude of overspending this year and put strict controls over this type of spending in the future. As a start, we should look at where our advertising dollars are spent so that we can best reach our targeted audience. Our focus should not be on promoting Paris to ourselves, but instead promoting Paris to the outside world. Rather than spending thousands of dollars on local media advertising, we should invest in updating and improving our website. Our website is our portal to reach potential new business from across the state and the nation. It must be a perfect reflection of our community and what we have to offer. We must simply and accurately track our expenses. The PEDC chart of accounts was revised in response to a proposal made by Mr. Seeline. This chart of accounts complicates the tracking of expenses. We now have large sums of money being spent on such categories as rural innovation initiatives, global recruiting, and entrepreneurial resources. We should immediately get rid of this gibberish. I am a well-trained CPA, and I even don't know what these categories mean. I much prefer calling things exactly what they are: travel, entertainment, conferences, advertising, legal fees, etc. It makes it much easier to determine if an item is an approved budget item. The City Council must approve all PEDC expenditures. You approve the PED expenses by approving the PEDC operating budget. Therefore, it is extremely important that the PEDC spend only what has been approved by the Council. We must accurately describe our expenditures in order to stay within the guidelines of our approved budget. In our last meeting, I asked Mr. Carr and Mr. Turner to work with the PEDC staff to review the PEDC operating budget for potential additional expense reductions and to revise our chart of accounts. I also asked Ms. Ballard and Mr. Carr to work with the staff to review and update operating policies and procedures. After the committee's recommendations are presented and approved by the board, I will be happy to go over them with you. In closing, I want to again state the obvious. I, along with every other member of the PEDC's board, want Paris to grow. After serious consideration, the board will be making major changes to PEDC. Only the most fiscally irresponsible person could possibly condone spending 74% of our revenue on operating expenses. A previous board granted the director virtually unlimited spending ability by allowing him to spend $7,500 per occurrence with absolutely no board approval. Travel and entertainment expenses were also only limited by, quote, his discretion, unquote. These policies must be immediately changed. Spending guidelines will be put in place to ensure that our money is spent wisely. The role and responsibility of the PEDC board in approving expenditures will be more clearly spelled out. Setting up these guidelines will be to the benefit of all parties concerned. We will also concentrate on making a first-class website to inform the citizens of Paris of our accomplishments and to show the outside world what Paris has to offer. Hopefully, the PEDC board and staff will soon be allowed to again focus on what should be our mission: promoting, assisting, and enhancing economic development through the creation of primary jobs for the betterment of the citizens of Paris, Texas. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Clifford. Ms. Clifford, I have a question. Ms. Clifford, I have a question.
If you don't call me names, I'll be fine.
I'm just going to call you Ms. Clifford.
Okay,
so.
that's fine. Well, I'm good with that.
You said there was a 74% overhead, and you divided this between personnel, marketing, and administration. Do you have a breakdown of how much was personnel, how much was marketing, and how much was administration?
I did not do the percentages on that on the graph. On the chart that I have. It has personnel. The other are not amounts between marketing and overhead. I just lumped those together because just as a number there. I do not know.
And as the chairperson of the board, I'd like to ask you, since really purpose of PEDC is marketing the city of Paris, correct? I mean, and
Yes.
creation of primary jobs. What percentage of your overheads do you think is a fair expense for marketing?
Well, we're supposed to be limited to 10% for just true marketing. Now, we can use money to go out for attract a specific business, but this to market the area, it's only supposed to be 10%. And you notice on some of these companies or the towns that we have, they were very successful. I believe Marshall was at 22, sorry, I have to get closer to, is 22%. And if you go to their information on their website, they seem to be attracting very good jobs and employers in that area. So apparently there are other successful companies that are doing a good job with a third of what we're doing with ours.
Okay. And out of the 74%, I'm going to again ask you one other question, and that is that what all is included in marketing? Explain to me, what is marketing? Is it just advertisements, or what do you mean by marketing?
Marketing should be the print advertisement, promotion, so we go out. Lamar County Days is promotion. The travel to conferences and where you're just promoting the area should be in marketing, such as site selector committees. I think there have been several that they have gone to that is just a general, we're Paris and promoting us to them.
And do you feel that there is any degree of overlap between marketing and administrative costs?
There shouldn't be. That the overhead, we have gotten, what I was said is that we have gotten off track because we're paying other people's expenses. We're paying expenses that we shouldn't have been paying. So I've put those up in overhead because they really don't belong within PEDC, but we're paying them because no one else has the money to pay them. And that is not what we're here to do.
Okay. That's all that I have.
Okay.
Mr. Wright?
Any other questions?
No questions.
Anybody else has any questions or comments?
Yeah, I have a couple.
Mr. Fryson.
His PDC doesn't, they're audited every year, right?
Yes, they are.
Have they ever had a problem with an audit?
Audit is not to determine bad business judgment. Audit is to provide what is fairly stated.
Okay, but bad business judgment is kind of an opinion. If the other boards approve the budget.
Excuse me, you say that it's okay for us to spend 74% of our money?
I say that calling the other board members irresponsible is kind of out of line.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
You said that the other budgets that have been approved, you said those were irresponsible?
Not following them is.
Well,
Because I don't
the other
want-
boards approved it, and there were some reasonably intelligent people on that, too. Now, I understand your opinion's
That's why I question
different.
some of the, no comment. I can't. You have to have a reasonable discussion with a reasonable person, and I cannot have a reasonable discussion with you on that. Thank you very much.
No, ma'am, I'm not done if you don't mind. Ms. Clifford, if you don't mind, I have a couple more questions, please.
I don't have, no comment.
Wow, okay.
No comment.
Anything further on this?
It appears as though I'm done, Dr. Hashmi.
Okay.
I do have some more questions if somebody would like to ask, but I guess I'll go to the PEDC meeting tomorrow and get those.
Okay.
And there'll be no comment tomorrow.
All right. With that, we move to item number 10. And item number 10. By the way, thank you, Ms. Clifford, for your time and effort. Item number 10 is presentation by Mr. William Strathen on Paris Economic Development Corporation's expenses, budget, financial oversight, and policies.
Mayor Hashmi, before he begins, I'd like to, I think that we've heard a lot on the PEDC, and Ms. Clifford's report assures me that she's on top of, getting the whatever irregularities there were in expenditures under control. And your presentation 2 weeks ago was very well demonstrated that there are some problems that need to be corrected. The question is this really an issue that needs to be brought before us once again without certain principals being allowed to defend themselves or at least offer counter explanations? I'd prefer to table this, as Mr. Strathen, I understand, is going to deliver this presentation tomorrow to the PEDC. And it's really a PEDC problem, not a city council problem.
Dr. Grossnickel, I can give you my opinion on this. I've never prevented anyone from speaking, and that is what I've maintained. So that Mr. Strathen had requested, just like Mr. Cecil had requested to be placed, and that's why I placed him on the agenda. Tabling is not an issue, but tabling, if there was a reason to table, there is nothing wrong with tabling an issue. But I think most of the time that we have tabled issues is if we have not come to some conclusion in the past, or there is a specific reason to table. If the purpose is to table it or eliminate it, that's separate. But if you're going to table it today and have to bring it back again in the next council meeting, I'm not sure whether that's going to serve any purpose. But if that's what your choice is, you can make a motion to table. I will not stop the motion, but the thing is that I think tabling just means that it will come back up again at another point. So with that said, if you would make, it's up to you.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No,
No,
it's
you-
fine. I've had a question, but it's okay.
Go ahead.
John, what are the options there? You can table it for a specific time period, or you can table it indefinitely, is that
For
correct?
tabling, you can table to a date specific, you can table to a time specific, or you can table indefinitely. I think those are the only options.
Okay.
Kent, I don't know, you may know Robert's Rules of Order better than me.
Those are the normal options on table.
This kind of falls into a similar thing about it's kind of a moot point at this point, as it was to seek an Attorney General opinion, if these issues are already being dealt with by the affirmative action of Ms. Clifford and the new PEDC board. It just seems like there's a lot of onlookers, a lot of people interested in hearing the latest outrages. And I know there are some items that probably are outrageous, but I just don't know what good comes from it. To air these publicly, I think it should be aired before the PEDC board and let them handle their financial problems.
Since tabling is an option, you are more than welcome to ask for a motion on this. I would suggest, though, my personal feeling is that anyone should be allowed to speak, and particularly if you're going to table it and it's going to come back again, then it's not worth doing it. But again, it's the council's decision on tabling an item, so it's up to you.
Well, I don't want to be in favor of not letting anyone speak, but I just think we've heard a lot of things, and there's not been any, I don't think Mr. Gilbert was given a real opportunity to present any of his
And
rebuttal.
I'll be glad to put him on the agenda if that's what it.
But the thing about it is, this is an EDC issue. Obviously, they have issues. The way the chain of command should work, as I understand it, is the board is responsible for the director. He's actually on the agenda for tomorrow. And so, I mean, I don't understand continuing to go down this road in public when we've heard, not that the EDC board meeting isn't public, but I mean, as far as the chain of command and the hierarchy of things go, it seems to me that the first line that he should go to would be tomorrow for the EDC, which he's already on the agenda for.
As I said, you're more than welcome to make a motion to table if that's what you want to do.
Fine, I'll make a motion that we table this item indefinitely.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Wow.
Abstain.
Mr. Stratton, your presentation, please.
I need to take about 3 or 4 deep breaths. But thank you for the opportunity, you four, for allowing me, you five, to make a presentation here. The reason I wanted to talk to the council was threefold. Number one, there's taxpayers' money involved here. Number two, you approved the budget. And number three, you did appoint the board. So I think you have a right to hear this presentation prior to me giving it to the PEDC. That's one. I've noticed that every time anybody has anything to say about the PEDC, there are members of the council and their sycophants and their supporters that have something to say about it, and nobody knows what I'm going to say here tonight except me. You're really magnificent mind readers. And on top of that, there's a member of your council that took me to task on Facebook. Facebook is international. And he said that I'm going to talk, I've asked a certain piece of information so that I can accuse the hardworking volunteers of Paris at Lamarck Day of freeloading and crooks. That was his words, and I'm going to talk to that a little bit later.
Yeah, I'm going to stop you on this, and I'm going to say, please continue with your presentation.
That was in my presentation, sir,
Okay.
before he opened his mouth. Okay, now, I know there was going to be pushback, and that's okay. Some people call me a cranky old man, which I probably am. I resent being called senile. I may be a little of that, too. I further resent all the things that they say on Facebook about blah, 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 blah. But I do remember that I have grandkids, and they all love me. They think I'm charming and affable. They're supposed to laugh at this moment. Okay, chart one. Here's the deal tonight. When you're doing in the corporate world, what you hear about is the bottom line. So anytime you see one of my charts, just look at the blue line. That's the bottom line. And what I asked for was a transparency study to take a look at the recent, and I'm saying it's very important, recent PEDC activities, because I'm not going back 20 years. I'm just talking about the last 2 or 3 years. And that's what I asked for. And the focus points of what's going on here is the law, which was quite specific. And then there's successes that the PEDC and their sycophants say he's accomplished. We're going to talk about those. And then we're going to talk about the spending practices or the open loop type things. And when I'm done with that, I'm going to communicate the results to you with a couple of recommendations, very simple recommendations. Next chart, please. This was checked out by the high school, and Dr. Hashmi used this last week. This is a little civics discussion, and I don't mean it as an insult to any members of the board. I'm trying to start at the beginning and take you through a thought process, which you may or may not accept. But the purpose, about 1800, 1820, people started showing up here in Paris. And eventually they talked and they decided that they better form a government because they needed to protect their own health, their safety, and their quality of life. And in order to pay for this government, they have to tax. Tax comes from income, and income comes from jobs. And the key point here is that you have to have laws to do all of that. Very simple. But in order for people like me, taxpayers, to see whether our elected officials and their employees and other officials are doing their job, the state has allowed transparency and Open Records Act so we can ask for things that we think we need to have the opportunity to look at. Please. So I'm only going to talk about 4 things, and I'm going to try to do it as fast as possible. 4 things. First one is going to be my background and my credentials, why I'm doing the study, what the findings were, and what the recommendations were, or are. And again, I'm going to say recent activities because I'm only looking at 2.5 years, not the $20 million that was spent since 1993. And for my case, my family's been associated with Paris for about 35 years, believe it or not. I've been a resident for 20 years, former council member. In fact, I think I sat right where Frierson's, or maybe
Nope.
Drake. I guess it was Drake. Anyhow, I also was mayor pro tem. I'm a veteran, U.S. Air Force during the Korean War years. And I served on the library board as well as the health board. So I'm basically saying I'm active in community affairs, and I intend to keep doing that. Now, insofar as my business experience is concerned, I started out as a field engineer, and 33 years later, I was president of the Satellite Systems Division of Rockwell International. Satellite systems are GPS, Navstar, your phone that you navigate with. You do it off satellites that guys like me put together. So we do know something about business, and I've been a successful business manager. I retired after 33 years. They didn't fire me, so I think I know something about what I'm talking about today. But before I go on, when I was in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, as vice president and general manager of a division, we moved a factory from Cedar Rapids somewhere else. And let me tell you how hard it is to find a location to put the factory in that you want to do. I can tell you from the industrial side, it's a son of a gun. Very difficult to do. And I'll bring that, what happens up on that later. The next one, please. Why the study? Real quickly. There was a Dallas newspaper article recently that accused Governor Perry and the EDCs of creating phantom jobs. Not only did they say they were creating phantom jobs, but they didn't even check to see that the jobs they were created followed the abatement and the incentive programs. And when I read that article, and by the way, this is it. This was the start, right here. When I read that article, I thought, oh, that's funny. This local outfit says that we've saved 1,750 jobs and added 567 new ones. And I thought, 1,750 jobs in Paris, wow. 560 new ones, wow. And then I knew from census growth that from 1990 to 2010, we've had no growth. So that bothered me a little bit. And that's why I asked for the forms.
No growth in what? Population, you mean?
No growth in population, no growth in jobs, sir, and no growth in housing, roofs. And that's all I looked at. And I'll be showing you where the data came from. Keith, oh, there we go. Anyhow, you can read this, but what it says is that it does cast a severe doubt on what the public has been told about the jobs created in Paris. And of course, with the Open Meetings Act and open records request, that causes a lot of things to happen. Next one, please. In 1993, the council, in its wisdom, and the citizens, in their wisdom, decided that, and you can read it, that we should have a group of people to try to create industrial jobs. And there should be some tax used to be levied on the people so that these jobs can be created. And then it was voted on. I believe there were 1,200 votes in favor, 500 votes against. Mr. Fisher signed it into law in 1993. The key thing here is it's a law. It's being funded by taxes. And it was voted on by the people. Now, it's not something like the council saying your grass shouldn't grow over 6 inches. This is a law put on the books by the people voting. And frankly, it should be followed. This is the chart, Mayor. It shows a little bit of growth, a little bit of drop. The blue is growth, then it dropped down, then it's down a little bit. And then the population people, the U.S. Census said in 2013, this will drop a little bit more. I don't know if it did or not. You can see the housing units and the employed somewhere around 10, 11,000, stays pretty much the same. The data came from the United States Census reports, not a Strathern thing. One of the things that bother me is that the media, the Paris News and eParis, publishes Gilbert statements like it was Moses on high. All of those are direct quotes read either in the Paris News or eParis. And then the latest one, the rapid and consistent growth. Well, there was a document that said in the Paris News on some date or other that we had rapid and consistent growth. We haven't had any growth. It sure as heck hasn't been rapid. It may have been consistent because it stayed about the same time. But anyhow, what President Reagan said was, trust everybody, but occasionally verify. And that's why I asked for the open records. And that's really the reason. Now, this chart here, if you'll take your time to look at it, I hope you can see it. In 2010, it said we had 2,816 industrial jobs. That came from the PEDC website. That's not a Strathern invention, website. In 2013, like right now, we have 2,944. That's about 100 and some odd jobs more. That's not 400, 500, 600. And look at the ridiculousness of the statement that he saved 1,750 jobs. We only have 2,800 jobs. How could you save 1,750? I don't know. I think it's an exaggeration. But let's go on. Skinner Bakery, hold on. That's all right. Just leave it there. Skinner Bakery's on. It's 130. Hopefully it'll grow like a son of a gun, and I hope it does. now we've got the data, and just hold it there. This is the data that Dr. Hashmi the other day put out. You looked at, I think, 1 year, if I remember right, 2012. This is 2011, 2012, and half of 2013. There's 1,800 pages of that. And the team and I went through every page once, twice, and in some cases 3 times, trying to figure out what the heck was going on with the money. So it's there, anybody wants to look at it. Next one, please. Next one, I guess. Oh, this is a good one. I don't want to ask Mrs. Clifford what she said, but I'm going to ask. Gribble? Gibberish, excuse me.
Your papers are flying. There's a paper in the front of the podium.
Oh boy, I'm going to have trouble in a moment. Okay. If you look at the bottom part there, let me use this thing here. If you look at the bottom part there, where it says Capital One, blah, 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 and it goes down, those are the credit card expenditures. If you look above that, those are the invoices. Now, these are the documents. These are all the documents. That's what's there. And what happens is it goes to Mr. Anderson of the city, signed by Steve Gilbert, the chief, and then Mr. Anderson or somebody pays all these bills. Somebody pays all these bills. It's interesting to note that the bottom line, Steve Gilbert, is the guy spending the money and approving the money, and I can't figure out how that can possibly be good business. So that made me ask for additional data because I couldn't figure out what all of those things meant at the bottom. And then, for example, Steve Gilbert got paid travel expenses here, but he also got credit card stuff. Carl Cecil got paid travel expenses, racial stuff, all kinds of stuff with no explanation. I'm not saying these are wrong. I'm just saying there's no explanation. Next one, please. Now, I don't think that Dr. Hashmi knows about the vendor invoices. These are copies of the vendor invoices for 2.5 years. Mrs. Banentine allowed us to have this, and I compliment her for that. This explains all kinds of things. No, this does not explain all kinds of things. This lists all kinds of things. For example, there were 2 Air Direct charter flights, these are jets, for $5,000 plus a piece to fly somebody from Austin to here. And whoever it was had nothing to do with bringing jobs to Paris, Texas. The next one is the lawyer's fees, which Mrs. Clifford commented on. They're spending $8,000 a year advertising the PEDC in the Paris paper. And all I would ask you is, how many people that read the Paris paper in Paris are going to bring factories here? I think that's another example of, they may have a good reason. And then there's insurance fees of $8,000 for a field out there that the limit is about $300. I checked on that too. That's grossly, very expensive. So these things demand some explanation. Some explanation. Next one, please. I think Gilbert's here. That's a joke, folks. Let me see if I can get my notes straightened out here a minute. Take a look at this chart. You're not supposed to be able to read it. What this chart is the professional organizations of places that Steve and the travelers have gone during the year. And what I'm saying to you is that none of these places, none of these visits are to any customers. These are visits of people to professional organizations. Like the AMA, they go to the AMA. If you're a carrot farmer, they have professional meetings of carrot farmers. If you're city attorneys, they have professional meetings of city attorneys. These are not places that you go to find new business. They're places where you learn so you can find new business. So these are not customers. And they're also in very nice places except for Omaha. We know they went up there for a different reason. But what I wanted to show in this particular chart is there's tons of money in EDCs. I mean, tons of money, millions and millions of dollars. And EDCs have become an industry in themselves of EDC. For example, in Sunday's paper, it says here, the 2012 collections in millions of dollars. It says fastest growing cities in North Texas collect some of the biggest war chests for economic development in the state. Frisco, $24,500. Corpus Christi, 24 million. I'm sorry, 24 million. Corpus, 19 million. McKinney, just down the road, 17.2 million. Amarillo, 16.1 million. Allen, 14.8. Then it says the Texas average is 800,000. And we're making, I think we're going to get about 1.2 this year, 1.3, something like that, I think Gene said. Is Gene? That's right, Gene said that's right. So this is big business. And when you have big business, and I don't mean big business in Paris, I mean big business in the country. Everybody's spending a ton of money to get new businesses. And so we've got to be very careful. Not only is the competition tough, but we can't waste that $1.2 million. Okay. Next, please. Oh, then I asked for another Opens Record Act, and the reason I did that was they had changed the document on the bottom side, and I didn't understand it. The second part was I did ask because I had heard a rumor. Go ahead and do the next one. I had heard a rumor that Lamar County Days cost $35,000, and I thought, that can't be. That can't be. So I just wanted to take a look at it. That's what I wanted to look at it to see where that money was spent, and was it really $35,000? Because some years ago, I was a hamburger flipper for Frank Homer, where Sonic provided the hamburgers for free. And we had a few people down there, and it was a little bit hot and all that. Well, anyhow, I looked at it, and I'd like to share with you the next chart. This is a chart from the PEDC. I didn't dream this up. And it said for food and other things, they spent $14,900. That's the bottom of the chart. Then on top of that, there's an arrow that says, Mayor, 6,300. Can you see that okay up there? Or that arrow? Can everybody see that arrow? I don't want to mislead anybody. They wrote a check, the PEDC wrote a check to, who was it? Oh, the chamber for 6,000. So the chamber put 6,000 in there, so that's 14,900 plus 6,000 is 20,000. And then on top of that, Sea Lion, the consultant, received about 15,000. So that's 15,000 on top of 50, that's 30,000. And then Lamar County put in 6,000, so that's 35 or 36,000. And by golly, the rumor was right. Next chart, please. So some of the things that really jumped out at me about selling PEDC to PEDC, and this is where Dr. Grossnickel got all upset at me. It wasn't to find out who the freeloaders were or who the crooks were. I was really trying to find out how much money was spent. And I was trying to find out how much money was spent to get new business in town. Well, look at these people's names. On that list, I think there's only one person that doesn't live here, and that's Audie Keaton. That dinner was on the 26th. That was a $900 dinner. $900. Next chart, please. This one was the 27th, and that was $1,200 for that dinner. And look at the names up there. Let's see, Quarles, Oldeck, Doherty, Mrs. Doherty, Carl Cecil, George Lavender, Andrea Williams, Miss Guillaume, Lori O'Neill, that's 4. Then Josh Bray, Matt Frierson, Mark Homer, Sea Lion, Gilbert, Shannon Barrington, and Shannon Jones. 4 of those people are not Paris people, but none of those 4 are going to bring businesses into our town. Next chart, and I love this last chart. These are the real volunteers. The first dinner was $900, the second dinner was $1,200. This one is $60. I fully approve of $60. These are not the, what do you call them, primetime Paris citizens or whatever. These are real people, real volunteers. And that, Dr. Grossnickel, was really why I did it, no other reason. Next chart, please. In this new request I had, Stephanie Harris sent back a letter. This request was was item number 3 on the second letter that I sent. This had to do about expenses. And Ms. Harris wrote back and said that I'm not going to get any more on expenses because if a credit card is used, it doesn't generate an expense report. And I know it doesn't because I couldn't understand them. They didn't explain them. So I asked for those and the trip report. And it came back, it says there aren't any. Now let me talk to you about corporations for just a moment. Let me talk about corporations for just a moment. I must have looked at 1,000 expense reports, 10,000 of them, with trip reports. And what you do in a corporation is you look at the trip report, you look at the expense report, and you see what the person is trying to do. And you study it. You look at the numbers later. You want to find out what is really going on and what's happening for our corporation and what are all these people doing. Well, without a trip report, written documentation of what happened and why you made the expense and why you went somewhere, there's no corporate memory. So if Mr. Gilbert, God bless him, gets a job tomorrow and leaves, we don't know what the heck happened in the past 2.5 or 3 years. And that's one of the reasons you demand a trip report so you know what's going on. For no other reason, not to catch somebody. And then, of course, you look at the numbers and it's a problem. There are no trip reports, no explanation of expenses, and so it is ripe for fraud, waste, and abuse. And I'm not accusing anybody of anything. If they would have given us the information, and if they had it, that would have been another story. Next one, please. Number 4 was compliance, and the reason we brought that up was because in the document that the senators met with, and I showed you the newspaper in the beginning, they said that many times compliance is not followed up. The city gives an abatement, or the PEDC gives an incentive, and they forget about it. So I asked, since there have been so many jobs created by this PEDC, what about incentives? What were the reports on the incentives? That was two things. You could check the incentives, but you could also check on the activity. Well, it turns out there are 2 incentive things going on right now. HWH, and it's pretty much what it says there. First of all, they did send as part of item 4 the way they check compliance, and that looked quite good to me. And then they did this with HWH and Rogers Wade, and HWH wouldn't give them a piece of document, so Ms. Harris wrote the Attorney General and asked for relief or whatever, and we haven't heard back on that one. So that's still open. And then the second thing, bodyguards, they were paid, to move from Honey Grove to Paris, and apparently that's going quite well, and the incentives are working right. But the thing that's disturbing, and that's going to bring another request to the PEDC, is that the city gives abatements. And the question I have is who checks to see that the person that you gave the tax abatements to is living up to their instruction? And I understand that, and if I'm wrong, I'm sure you guys are going to let me know, it's supposed to be the council doing that for the city. Now, I don't know that for a fact, but I think, Gene, would you care at all to comment on that?
Normally, PEDC is monitoring both the same incentive.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to have to do a little bit more work there. I haven't got that figured out. Next one, please. Is that the next one? Thank you. The preliminary findings. The law says industrial jobs. Where I come from, that's what you do. You obey the law. You obey the law. You don't look for cracks. You don't look for grays. You obey the law. If you don't like the law, allow the voters to change it. No big problem, no big deal. If you don't like it, change it. Secondly, I just wanted to say that Dr. Hashmi's report to the council was 1 year, and mine is, a little picky here and there, but that's what he had to go through. But what it shows is a pattern of misinformation. Now the question is Is it real? Did they do it deliberately? Or is it just, that's the way it is? And there's waste and abuse all over that, and I'm not going to talk about that. But I don't think there's sufficient oversight by the PEDC Board of Directors, and hasn't been for a long time. At first, I didn't have no oversight. I had insufficient or something, but there really isn't any. And what it looks like to me, frankly, is that they spend a lot of time selling PEDC to the city. And there's a lot of people's names that have been up here. And I want to say that I think they're hardworking people. They're not freeloaders or crooks, but they may be a little bit gullible. And working with the PEDC, I'll tell you, it does give them some advantages in knowing what's going on before the rest of them. But they pay for that by working at it. Next chart. So this is the first chart we put up. The objectives tell you what we found out from the study. The next chart after that's going to be recommendations. The law is quite specific and not being followed. The successes, in my view, are categorically inaccurate. There's a French saying, I think it's called quel fromage, and it means what cheese? But it really means what a bunch of baloney. Anyhow, business practices, it's open loop spending. You can spend $7,500 a day without any approvals. That's ridiculous. So anyhow, that's what went on there. And then the final chart, I'm sure you're happy to hear this. The first thing I would like to suggest to you is whoever is going to deny that whatever I said is true, please validate the data, because I'm sure there's mistakes in what I said. None of them were deliberate, however. Focus on primary jobs. Cut the baloney. Focus on primary jobs, manufacturing jobs, 4A jobs. And then I would say cut the spending completely for 90 days, or until such time as not the council, but the PEDC board gets a good handle on it. And then, of course, they're already working on updating the policies and procedures. But as it's structured right now and managed, it's ineffective. And changes are necessary. And as a side, I would say I would like to see the PEDC board get a chance to clean up the mess. And it's going to take quite a bit longer than they think. Thank you for your kind attention. Any questions? Thank you.
I don't have any questions. I just have a couple of comments I would like to make.
Please.
Lots of things going on in here tonight. Lots of things in the community. This is not good for Paris. And personally, I'm not speaking for anyone else but myself and how I was raised and my gut feeling here. Whatever has happened in the past is in the past, whether it was wrong or right. There were some funding, evidently, from all of the reports from Ms. Clifford and last council meeting and tonight. There was money that was spent that shouldn't have been spent in places. We cannot go back and change that. We can only move forward with the PEDC board's recommendations and hopefully get it where it needs to be and using the taxpayers' money the way it should be used and wisely and be held accountable. Old board members from PEDC board, that's over and done with. Name calling needs to end, whether it's in here or out in the public, in the media, on social networking, wherever. One thing Ms. Clifford did say tonight is when you get it on that website, it's there forever. We cannot take it away. Right now, if somebody Googles Paris, Texas, and I love Paris, I was born and raised here, and that's why I ran for council. I love this city with all my heart. But we need to get this over with, and we need to get this straightened out so that when people Google the city of Paris, they want to bring their businesses here, they want to bring their families here, and they want to be in a city where everything is okay. And I just hope from this point forward that that can be done. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Mr. Fraser.
I just have a couple things. First, and I'll just kind of hit on a couple of them, and I'll try not to be whatever it was that I was called earlier. But first of all, I will disagree that there hasn't been, I guess for me, sustainability over the long term, Bill. I mean, you've gone through no fault of our own. Sara Lee closed, and the PEDC was instrumental in bringing that plant back to life. You know, I'm not going to debate it with you, but that's a fact.
That's not a fact. So don't tell me you're not going to debate it. Don't make a suggestion.
I'm sorry,
and
I'm
then-
speaking, please. Thank you. We had 2 expansions at Campbell Soup. Kimberly Clark did a reinvestment. There have been some positives.
Mayor, am I going to have an opportunity?
Yes, you will.
Thank
Let
you.
him finish,
Of
please.
course. So I think long-term over sustainability in Paris, Steve has had some real positives. If we're going for the overall tone of can things be tightened up, sure they can. And that's all I've ever said is that absolutely, continual improvement is always better. But to characterize it as fluff or incidental or minor, I don't agree with. As far as Lamar County Days goes, there are a lot of people put a lot of effort into that, and people take time out of their lives to go. So I don't think, everybody I saw down there worked very hard. And I don't think that the effort that they show and the time they take out of their lives to go support Paris should go without saying thank you in some form. And I'm not indicating anything other than it was nice of them to go and take time. That's all. Really, I don't have anything left to say. I mean, this, I agree with Mr. Drake that this is detrimental to Paris to continue to go through this. Other than to say, as long as the EDC board as a whole is working together to make things better tomorrow than they were today. And I think that's what we need to focus on, and I know Ms. Clifford is going to be very diligent and vigilant in her effort to make sure that that happens. So I don't have any other questions or comments. Thank you.
Thank you. You can respond now, or you can just listen to all the questions and then respond.
No, let me take them one at a time or I'll never
Okay,
remember.
Go ahead.
Mrs. Drake is a lovely person, but if you look at the Archives building in Washington, D.C., it says what is past is prologue. That means if you don't change what's wrong, you're going to continue to repeat it. And using the excuse that correcting a problem is going to hurt the city of Paris is not correct, in my opinion. I think the fact that we're correcting the problems and identifying them gives us an opportunity to solve them, well, anyhow, that's that. And in your case, I'm sorry.
Let me just respond real quick. I wasn't saying that we need to forget. I'm just saying learn from our past and let the current board set up new policies so we don't have this happen again, and that has happened in the past.
Fair enough. I don't remember what you said. Wait a second, do, Matt. I know you're a big corporation guy, so you know a lot about this stuff, but I'm going to tell you something. Kimberly Clark's advancement in staying here and creating new things here, and Campbell Soup is doing it because they make a profit here. There's no way we could give them enough incentive to keep them here if they weren't making a profit. So to take credit for that kind of stuff is like pulling apples off of low-hanging branches. We need to get new manufacturing jobs. And I looked at the stuff on on whatever you call it, Lamar Days, and people worked their butt off. But I had to defend myself because the neighbor you said that I was looking to hang somebody. That wasn't the case at all. It would not even have been said had he not talked on Facebook. And by the way, Facebook isn't local. It's across the world. Anyhow, sir, your turn. I'm sorry, Doctor.
Dr. Grossnickel.
Kind of scared to open my mouth because of the way Mr. Strathern has not shown a lot of respect to the council.
There may be a reason for that, Doctor.
Well, that's your opinion, sir, but you've been here before.
At least it's not on Facebook.
Can we please
Yes, sir.
be civil on this discussion?
Yes, sir.
I just think that your report, while it cast a lot of light where light need to be shed, this was not the proper forum. It's a scattershot approach, and it's kind of hard to read. Just when you flash up something, you were talking about millions of dollars, and the bottom line said $24,000. So I got confused at times. But I think that Ms. Clifford is a very good accountant, and she'll be able to institute proper checks and balances so that the funds are spent correctly, and that's a goal. And so I think that these speeches we've had here have been effective in pointing out problems. But I also sense that there's an attack, personal attacks against Mr. Gilbert, which may not be warranted. I mean, I don't know that he's a person who's trying purposefully to cheat the taxpayers or just trying to do the best he can at, keeping current industries happy here and letting them expand. And he doesn't get all the credit. It's a group effort of concerned citizens in Paris, but it just seems like there's an effort to run Mr. Gilbert, to get him to resign. And I don't know who we'll replace him with, but at any rate, that's about all I got to see.
I got you. Yeah, that's fair enough.
Okay.
Let me say this, however. You apparently still don't get it, and I'll tell you why. Miss Gilbert's going to take care of the books, but that's not what this is all about. What this is all about is attracting manufacturing jobs to Paris and not wasting money do it. And I can guarantee you, Mrs. Gilbert is not going to waste any money.
Ms. Clifford.
What's your name?
Mrs. Clifford, please.
I'm sorry, Doctor, when they said I was senile, I think they're right. Anyhow, that's where the millions came from before, too, by the way. Anyhow, what was I saying? Anyhow, please.
I do get it. I mean, I understand that. I want to see us attract bigger industries. We all do. I get that. Okay?
Fair enough.
Ms. Lancaster.
Well, this has been a painful shining the light on some things we probably didn't want to hear, but we needed to hear. And there's no way that we can make it any better if we don't know what's going on. Somewhere along the line, PEDC got off track, and seriously off track. And I think today is a good day for us to start getting PEDC right back on track, get focused on getting the jobs into our town that we need, and presenting a really clear, honest picture of our citizens, and I know they're fine people.
Mr. Jenkins.
Well, I appreciate the insight from Ms. Clifford and Strathern, and all the people at PDC and the City Council. I just make sure we just do our jobs and do the best for Paris, for growth and everything.
Thank you. Mr. Wright.
Well, I think all of the thoughts and the items that have been brought to our attention are going to be helpful in solving the problems. I have the utmost faith in the board and the leadership of the PEDC board that is there, and if we can overcome our mistakes and not repeat them, it'll all be worthwhile.
Thank you, Mr. Wright. I'll voice the same concerns and say what the rest of the council members have said. I think it's good to look back at ourselves. None of us are angels. We make mistakes. As long as there is potential for correction and looking back so that in future we look back and say that we did the right thing. And I have complete confidence in all the PEDC board members, even the ones who I disagree with. I have confidence in them that they will do a fine job. Things have been brought to our attention. I'm not interested in any personal attacks on anyone. The purpose is to improve the organization. And I firmly believe that whether people agree with me on certain aspects or even the ones who disagree with me, their intentions are all good. We are all for Paris. And I have no intentions of leaving. I want to retire and live here. And so hopefully we'll have a better Paris tomorrow.
Well, thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you for presenting.
For
Thank
presenting
you for the
to
time
you.
spent.
Take care, y'all.
With this, we move on to the next item on the agenda, which is item number 11, discuss and possibly act on a resolution approving and authorizing an economic incentive agreement by and between the City of Paris and Red River Region Business Incubator. First of all, I need a motion to remove this item, put this item back on the agenda.
Make a motion. I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you. Now, Mr. McKellier, you want to describe something, or?
Mayor and City Council, based on your instructions at the last meeting and last discussion about the incubator funding, I've made the changes to the proposed agreement, shortening it to just a agreement that'll expire at the end of this year, an effective date September 10th, and a funding amount of $30,000 total. And I've also changed some of the requirements, obligations of the R3BI, because the changes that they've requested, they're going to essentially wind down the existing R3BI and establish a new business incubator for Paris at the Paris Junior College with SBDC assistance.
I have a first question, and that is, are we in compliance? Because when we are giving these $30,000, there is clear instructions on it on why we are doing it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you've gone through the contract?
I have.
Okay, and it's acceptable to Ms. Sydney Young as well?
I got a call from her today, and she indicated that she had board support for it.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Wright?
I see nothing wrong with it.
Okay. Mr. Jenkins? Ms. Lancaster?
I have no problem.
Dr. Grossnickel?
It seems fine.
Mr. Frierson?
No comments.
Ms. Drake? No comments or acceptable?
That's just fine.
Acceptable. Mr. Frierson, can you clarify, please? Acceptable to?
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Drake?
It's acceptable.
Okay. All right, then I'll take a motion on this item.
Make a motion that we approve a resolution authorizing the City of Paris to enter into an economic incentive funding agreement with the Red River Regional Business Incubator for $30,000.
Thank you. Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No. Thank you very much. The time is 6:53 p.m. and we will convene into executive session pursuant to Section 551.071 of Texas Government Code, consultation with attorney to receive legal advice from city attorney about pending or contemplated litigation and or matters in which the duty of an attorney to his client under the Texas Disciplinary Rules of Professional Conduct of the State Bar of Texas clearly conflict with this chapter as follows: Ranger Abbott versus the City of Paris, and pursuant to Section 551.074 of the Texas Government Code to deliberate the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, disciplines, or dismissal of a public officer or employee as follows: annual evaluation of the city manager. Thank you. Now it's 7:46 p.m. and we are out of the executive session. The city manager's evaluation was discussed in the council meeting, and the other thing that was discussed was the Ranger Abbott case, and the city attorney has been given appropriate directions on that. So did I reconvene it? Yeah, I did reconvene into open session. Did I or did I not?
Yes, 7:40.
Oh, I did say that, okay. Item number 14 is consider and approve future events for the city council and city staff pursuant to resolution 2004-081. This may not be a perfect time to say this, but I want to bring something to the city manager's attention. There's a complaint by people who asked for disannexation, that their want of was not heard properly, and there's been too much time taken. They should have been given a chance, either yes or no, one way or another, but they should not be left high and dry hanging in there. So I would like that item to be placed back on the agenda for the next meeting so that we get to some sort of a resolution on that, and they don't feel that we are trying to hide and not answer their question. With that, is there anybody else that you wants to make any kind of comments?
Just one thing, for those of you that are interested and available, there is that short, silent Patriot Day Parade at 10 o'clock Wednesday morning.
What about the meeting for the water and sewer information deal?
Oh, each of the council members?
Yes.
Ms. Drake has selected her date.
Yeah, I was talking to Mr. Anderson about it earlier. Mine was supposed to be tomorrow night, but I haven't seen anything published. Mr. Anderson?
I was asking about that, and I think it's been put in the calendar.
Okay.
It's shown in the Paris News.
Okay, so it has been,
So it
I
has
just
been there.
missed that then.
I
So
missed it too.
mine's tomorrow night.
Yeah. I would like,
Mr. Gripe is Thursday night.
Thursday night,
This week or the 17th?
this week.
This week? Okay, I couldn't remember. Where are these going to be? Mine will be at East Paris Baptist Church at 5:30 tomorrow night.
you've not been reading the Paris news lately.
Oh, I have, I just missed it.
Mr. Wright's is at Southside Baptist Church. Mr. Wright's is at Southside Baptist Church. Thursday.
Thursday, 5:30.
Well, I'm going to request Friday or Saturday, not this coming Friday or Saturday, but the following, if we can arrange it at Ramsar Baptist Church, I would be glad to meet with the District 7 people.
Are we going to have it in Methodist churches or?
We can if you would like to.
They don't have enough chicken.
Well, that was on the church.
Mr. Frierson or anybody else wants to schedule some time quite yet? Dr. Grossnickel does.
Gene, I emailed you, and I didn't hear back from you, but I figure it's got to be a time when our staff can come, and I figure that's up to you. I'll try to, if you'll give me some possible dates. I've got a place, I'm going to do it at PRMC,
Right.
at the Lewis Hall.
We've had some staff out of town that I thought would be appropriate for them to be there, but they're back now, so I'll
Just
get
get
back.
back with me.
Ms. Lancaster?
I still don't have a date at the Presbyterian Church, but that's where it'll be.
And Mr. Jenkins?
At my dad's church, and I have my date yet.
Okay. With that, did we miss the football game?
No, there are two.
Second,
it.
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Good night.
Yeah.